Okay, had a little camera problem there. Just going to start with 2 cups of flour there. Start getting a little stiffness. You're going to end up using your hands, but you might as well put off that a little bit because it's going to be messy. You can tell when. You can tell. The whole thing with this, so you can tell. Alright. Now, that was some of the liquid yeast milk mixture. Get that incorporated a little bit. It's going to stick to the sides. There's no 2 ways about it. Back to the flour. Okay. Starts getting a cool consistency that I really like. Taking on some body. Now, I don't know the chemistry of any of this. My mom didn't tell me scientific facts about the action of yeast. She just did it the way her mother did it, the way her sisters did it. My mom was the youngest of 9 girls and 2 boys. The boys mostly mined coal and the girls mostly minded the house. And I'll do one more of these before I do a liquid. Try to get a little bit stiffer before I add the liquid. This is hard on your arm, and if you're ambidextrous, or if you have a friend who'll take over some of the mixing, you're better off because you're going to be doing a lot. It's not bad though. It's not more than you can do, that's for sure. Alright. More liquid. There's no hard and fast rules how much to put in at any given time. Just use your judgment as you go. So now it's really wet. Try to get the wet distributed more evenly. Well, you got it wet. Take advantage of wiping down the sides a little bit. Back to the flour. Now this is the color dough that I expected. This golden yellow dough from all those eggs and butter. You could expect it to be golden, but the one that I made this morning with the whole wheat flour was brown by this point. And you know, I thought about just pushing through and working with it with the brown dough, which I'll show you in a minute. But the point of this, it's a holiday bread, and it should be, you know, on holidays they use the most refined ingredients they could afford, which included white sugar, white flour. And when I say they, I don't know who I mean, but certainly Turovchaks, my mother's family. As the 50s and 60s wore on, the aunts didn't bake much except cake mixes. Aunt Elizabeth had a magical way with chocolate cake mix. Duncan Hines Devil's Food. She could just make it lighter and airier and better than anybody else. Relying on her mix master. Before there were KitchenAids, they were mix masters. Right, this is starting to feel like dough, you see. I'm not quite ready to put my hand in it, but I will very soon. I think I'm going to get my hand in now. Just don't want to waste any of this good stuff. All right. There's my initiation. Put this on the side. Now what I find it helps if I just grab handfuls of flour like this and then start working the handfuls in. Not sure what you can see, but we're hoping you can see something. Now this is nice dough. This is not too stiff. It'll work. I'm sure it'll work. I used to have batches that hours would go by and it just wouldn't rise and would ruin my Christmas. But I figured out what I was doing wrong, which was that I was not being careful about the temperature of the water that I proofed the yeast in, and so I was getting yeast that wasn't fully activated, and so it wasn't rising enough. Also, big thing is to keep the room. I should have a t-shirt on instead of a little sweater because it's hot and it's going to be hotter still. I gotta put a little bit more of this. I'm listening to Pandora, that online radio station that you can design what you want to hear. You know, you're going to have your hands in it, and every time you put your hands in the flour, you're sort of making your own hands a little easier to deal with. At the end, it'll hardly stick to your hands at all because the dough will be so much of a piece. Now, what I just heard this minute was a little, which is the first that the gluten or whatever is breaking down. And I don't know the science of it, as I say. Go to someone else for the science and then come back and tell me. But if it's going to rise, it's going to form little gassy bubbles that go. Now, it's not like waiting for your baby to kick for the first time. It's not that crucial, but it's going to happen. Carl? Carl? Carly? There's a FedEx guy at the door and I can't, my hands are in the dough. Okay, I had to stop and go away because you know it's Christmas when you got to stop mixing your dough because the FedEx man arrived. And you'll say, is he bringing presents? And the answer is, he's bringing screeners. Screeners for the Academy Awards, the Golden Globes. It's Christmas in the Hollywood Hills. Almost everybody on the street is getting their screeners from whatever guild they're in. My husband's in the Art Directors Guild. So, anything that has some pretense to being notably artistic in its look. And I can't get that either. Oh, there was another gas bubble. I'm going to get that spatula and scrape the bottom a little bit again. Actually, I got a better one. I have this stiff spatula, which will help me get this off the bottom and into the mixture. Peaky's interested, the parrot's interested. He says, when are you going to give me some? What are you making? How come it's not for me? Do you see that this is changing character? See how sort of pulling in off my fingers, and it's going to work. I'm reassuring myself from the times that it hasn't worked, including this morning when it came out brown. All right, a little more yeasty. I know this is tedious and time-consuming and not that much fun to watch, so I hope, like me, you're doing something else that's fun. I'm listening to this radio station As I was saying, with the songs that I loved as a girl, now people are telling me that the songs that I write very much like these songs. When it gets to the really unpleasant, well, it's not unpleasant, but when it gets unpleasantly sticky, then it's time to add some flour. Then it means that it's assimilated the flour that you've given it. Now, as I press down, it's definitely gassy bubbles. Yeah, this is dough. If you ever played with Play-Doh in school, you won't be going ick, hands in the dough. You'll know that hands in the dough can be an awful lot of fun. So when it starts coming off my fingers, then I figure I gotta juice it up again. Go speed it up a little faster. You see the benefit of the lower table? The countertop, I'd be working up here. This you can put your back and your arm strength into it, as well as your hands and lower arms. And your shoulders help you here. I wonder if bakers are notably buff. An interesting thing to check out. Unless they're just doing their bacon in big, huge size, you know, industrial strength KitchenAids. Alright. Well, you can tell how far there is to go because the ingredients are measured out. And when you've incorporated the 10 to 11 cups of flour into the cup and a bit of milk plus yeast, then you know that you're just about done. That's when you give up. And then when you give up, what do? You might say, well, try to put this dough into a clean pan, or at least scrape out this pan, make it a little cleaner. See how this is getting a lot of character right now? And then you you get it into this pan, a little bit of flour on the bottom so it doesn't stick as it opens itself up. And then you put it somewhere warm. As I said, it's a cold day, so I've artificially overheated the kitchen. I think I read that 84 degrees is not inappropriate temperature for the room you're working in. Alright. I get it so it's really good, and then I get it so it's too wet, and then I dry it out with more flour. Meanwhile, something's happening to the molecules of the wheat, I take it, from all this working. But dogs are outside. This part of the day is not too cold. This morning it was so windy, it's an El Nino condition. It just changed the weather all over the United States and perhaps other places. For all I know, it could be all over the world. But it's responsible, they say, and my husband was telling me, for the 20 inches of snow that most of the eastern seaboard got last weekend, spurring online purchases as people found they couldn't get to the mall. Just cleaning up a little bit here with my own hands. I wash my hands obsessively while I'm doing this so that I'm not introducing into the dough anything unsavory. Make sure my nails are short and clean and everything. Alright, that's pretty nice. Pretty nice. We're getting there. See, there's this much of this, this much of this, which is not much. And this is what we're getting. It's a great song. Sort of not from the era of everything else. If my hands were clean, I'd be going over to Pandora and directing them away from some of these inappropriate songs. I mean, they're good songs, but not for this station that I've created, which is supposed to be Shirelles, Ronettes, Bristols, the Chiffons, Marvin Gaye, Otis Redding in his croonerier way, the Miracles, the Temps, not the Supremes. I never ever could warm up to the Supremes. Don't know why. I mean, they're not that different than the groups that I love, like the Ronettes and the Shirelles, the Marvelettes, Martha and the Vandellas. Betty Everett. Right. This is very doughy. I hope you can see that. Can't quite feel it. See, every time I pull it, I'm exposing the drier, less integrated part, and then when I turn it over, that stuff that I've revealed is picking up the flour that's on the bottom. You try to turn it over and over and get the inside on the outside. Serious work, isn't it? But the product is great, and the process is actually a lot of fun. I mean, I just picked up knitting after probably 30 years of not knitting. And at the best, all I ever knitted was a scarf. All I know is knit, and purl, purl, purl. And there isn't even any purling in what I'm knitting now. But I just got some cute yarn in on Kauai when we were over there hanging out with our friends recently. And in Lahaina, there was a cute shop that had ukuleles and knitting stuff. So it gives you a sense of what life is like in Hanalei Bay. It wasn't Lahaina. Lahaina's on Maui. It was Hanalei. That's what I'm trying to say. Like Puff the Magic Dragon, as everybody tells me. In fact, the scenery in Hanalei is so gorgeous that it almost reconciled me to the song Puff the Magic Dragon, which used to always induce vomiting in me. So anyway, so I bought this variegated blue, beige, different shades of light blue, turquoisey blue, subtle stuff. And in my innocence, I didn't realize that when you knit up variegated stuff, it doesn't come out all over variegated. It comes out striped, horizontal stripes. You know, whichever color is up near the top as you're going by is the one that that row becomes. So it's okay. I'm just using all the. I told you that the yarn was made of sugar cane, which was properly eccentric, unusual, and organic, free tradey and third worldy and whatever. All right, this is the very last of the milk going in. Very last. So I started knitting this scarf. I cast on 50 stitches. At one point I found I had 46. A little while later I had 58. It took me a little while to get in the groove, I didn't quite understand, and I made a lot of errors. So if you held up and looked, held up to the light and looked at the first, half yard, I guess, of my knitting, there's holes all over the place where I dropped stitches, picked up stitches. I don't even know what it is that caused it. But so it makes it a little unsuitable to give to anybody. I'm thinking this might be about the last of the flour. I mean, there's hardly any left in here. So let's see how this comes. Hard work. So, but ever since that first yard, half yard, it's been coming out pretty well. But because of the first part, it's not like I can knit it and then give it to someone. Finish it and give it. I gotta finish it and give it to myself and wear it as an object lesson in how to learn how to do something and not being so good at it at first, which is, apt as we talk about this dough. This is hard work. I'm gonna take a shower while it's rising. First while it rises, I'm gonna make the filling. Let me just give you a look into the immediate future of this ball of dough. When I like the consistency, I'm going to stop adding flour. And that's very close. And then I'm going to put it to rise in this bowl. Just want to be sure it's all mixed all the way through. There's no dry spots, no wet spots. It's pretty uniform. It's pretty good. Look how clean my hands are getting just from handling the dough. It's pulling the dough off the front of my fingers at least. So this is going to take, a couple hours really to rise, because you want it to double in bulk at least. After it's risen, I'm going to punch it down again. This is punching it down. Except it'll be punching. This is actually very, very good. I'm going to set it in this bowl for 1 sec. Just because I want to clean this bowl out a little bit. This is a good tool. I don't remember what it came with, but I'm really enjoying it today for cleaning the bowl a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfectly clean. When the thing rises, I don't want it to pick up shreds from the side too much. Not important. Okay, it's pretty good. Just put that there. A little bit more here on the bottom. There. Alright, now, here's my dough. Look at that. And I gotta tell you, it's heavy. I put a little bit of flour in the bowl. I'm just gonna set my dough in here. Just like that. Okay. Now I'm gonna put a dishcloth, a clean, linen dishcloth over it and set it on the stove to rise. And then I'm gonna start working on the filling.